Sisters fought the battle, but the war is not yet won. The fight has changed, but the cause still remains. We won't rest until it's done. Still we endure discrimination, won't stop because the men are unnerved. Take back what we're entitled to, respect is what we deserve. We descend from the witches you couldn't burn, from the warrior's refusal to be unheard, from those who stand tall in battle every day. We won't be broken, we won't obey. FGM, reproductive rights, even how we dress. Just as qualified, work more hours, yet we are paid less. We won't wait another century for our demands to be addressed. We're sick to the teeth of repeating ourselves, sick of being oppressed. We descend from the witches you couldn't burn, from the warrior's refusal to be unheard, from those who stand tall in battle every day. We won't be broken, we won't obey. We descend from the witches you couldn't burn, from the warrior's refusal to be unheard, from those who stand tall in battle every day. We won't be broken, we won't obey. No, no, we won't be broken, we won't obey.
I'm Liz, I'm guitarist for Sup My Culture.
And I'm Amy, and I'm lead vocals for Sup My Culture. There is also Georgia, who is not here, and she plays the drums.
Yeah, we're sort of a Riot Girl inspired punk band. We're quite DIY, but we don't really fit, I don't think, in any kind of genre of music. We just sort of play things.
We're not traditional punk, I don't think.
No.
But then there's kind of a new, interesting punk sound that's coming out, and I feel we may fit more into that.
Mm.
But yeah.
We're quite political, and so a lot of our songs, a lot of our music, a lot of what we're passionate about is about social activism, politics, social justice, and the response to that from other people. Yeah. So we write about that quite a lot as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything that kind of gets us a bit riled or feature. We're all from Plymouth originally, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And part of a really lovely little music scene that's going on at the moment. That's what it's called.
Right.
The song is called The Fight Goes On. So what's it about? For me, writing the lyrics, I took great inspiration from protest signs. So I kind of just looked at protest signs, what women were writing, what feelings they were sharing whilst they were protesting, and what words they used, and that kind of really was the kind of beginning inspiration. And actually some of those words feature in the chorus of the song, so I totally nicked some of them, but they were so powerful and resonated so much with myself that I was like, I have to use these words. And I guess really, obviously it's the centenary of some women gaining the vote, and that kind of, I got thinking about that as well, and how actually we have come far in a lot of ways, but there is still so much more to do. There's so many things going on, so many injustices, and actually there's still more fighting to do. There's still many more voices that need to be heard, and it's really about kind of, I guess in a way, highlighting and thanking what's been done in the past, and encouraging women to keep doing that, to keep fighting and continuing.
A lot of the lyric writing process was kind of a process as a band as well, of sharing those ideas, Amy asking Georgia and I for snippets, things that we found, like ideas that we had. Bringing us into that, I guess, from my point of view, it's like that the idea of The Fight Goes On, it hasn't actually ended yet, and particularly if you're thinking about it from an international perspective, there's, all over the world, there's lots of women that don't have any rights at all, to own property, to vote, to drive a car, have an education, lots of really basic things that, although in England we have this perception that things have come on really far, which they have, actually we live in a global society now. We have that information at our fingertips. We can travel to the other side of the globe really quickly. What are we doing about those issues elsewhere as well? I think it kind of reflects a bit of that. And a lot of what's happening in America as well, and how they kind of influence the world, and that sort of regressive politics that's going on.
one must always guard against attacking others, even if that other seems to be a perpetrator of some kind of discrimination or aggression. And equalities and change can be achieved, I really genuinely believe, through being positive, by being determined and kind of ox-like and tenacious and keep going at it, that we can all be involved in positive change.
It'd be great if people weren't hungry. It'd be great if we could solve homelessness. It'd be great if there weren't empty buildings. All that, I would love to see all that change. It'd be great if there was more green spaces. It'd be great if we could all put down our handheld devices. It would be really wonderful if we weren't all in our cars on the M5 all the time. But you know, like, what am I saying? It's like, it is as it is, you know? I would like to just see, I don't know. I mean, I feel quite satisfied in lots of ways with how life is, because, you know, I don't want to be resigned about how things are. At the same time, I don't want to always be worrying that things could be better, because they are as they are.
If you haven't got anything, or you can't get something that everyone else is aspiring to, there's some sort of stupid judgment about that. And it would be really nice if we thought of each other in a different way, and valued human contact rather than contact with things. So if I had a magic wand, we'd all lose our high value anything, and the things that we might think make us better people, and we'd get back to basics.
For me, it would be about not representation, something more than that, something genuine, that there's value in women's opinions. You see lots of boards of companies or whatever that are, you know, largely male dominated, and this perception that, you know, women have to work harder to achieve the same thing as a mediocre man. I think that's what I'd like to see change, because that would apply to everything across the board.
Yeah.
That presumption that we're all equal regardless of our gender.
Yeah. I think universally, like across the world, I think, and just like women, you know, being able to have access to the things that they need as well, whether that is, you know, health, sanitary products, education, being able to drive, you know, I think just being able to kind of have access to the same things that guys do, you know, and not be kind of looked differently at or judged differently for anything, like, just equality. You know, there could be a million and one things I could list.
I think if I could wave some sort of magic wand and have those changes just appear tomorrow, it would be that removal of an expectation that women have to be somehow attached to a man to access things. Even things like working men's clubs, why have we still got those? You know, why does that still exist? It shouldn't. And when you start bringing things up, there's more important things to worry about. Why are you focusing on something so small? And it makes me think about prominent feminist Laura Bates, and she talks about actually how if you've got a messy room, you've got to start somewhere. You've got, you know, you have to clean up the corner to be able to get to the middle. And it's this idea that, you know, when you put something forward that needs to be changed, it's rebuffed. Oh no, why are you worrying about that? You've got women in Africa who can't access education, or whatever the derailment is. If I could wave that magic wand, it would just be that we are all humans in our own right, and we should all be able to have the same access to things.
Yeah.
In society in general, opportunities for women not being stopped by like stigma or stereotypes. And I think that is already changing, which is really nice. But I guess it could always be pushed more in school. I think it's definitely with younger girls, like, because once you get to uni and you're already doing something that you might want to do, but then you get there and you think, oh, I could have done this and maybe I would have been good at that, but you never even thought about it. Whereas like loads of boys might have thought about it because they were just kind of like, that was just more open to them as an option. I think, with like young girls and opportunities, I think that's key.
I would also like toy shops to not have the pink and blue aisles, because that's a really new thing as well. It's only sort of 50, 60 years old. It wasn't never probably a bit longer than that actually, I forget what year it is. You know, that's just a thing we're imposing upon children. I would really like to see clothing be a little bit more equal. So things like, you know, like pockets for women, like men's and women's clothes being the same price, boys and girls' clothes being the same, because they're not actually any different until puberty. Language, I talk a lot about gender inclusive language, so it's just easier if people say they, if they're talking about a person they don't know or do know, or it just annoys me. It really takes me out of the moment whenever I'm listening to someone talk about something generic and they'll say he all the time. So I'd like to not have that.
And I think that's what I think needs to change. People's perceptions of people, especially like the way they talk or where they're from. Teach them. Share your knowledge with them then. If you really feel that and you see potential, then make it a slower process. You know, meet with them and share your knowledge with them and build each other up. That's what I would love to change more in the city.
The gender specifics, I think they really need to go. And the only way that's going to happen is people becoming more sensitive. Even if they don't agree or they don't understand, just that becoming something that is incorporated and people become aware. You know, it's not a good way to raise children thinking that they aren't good enough or that they're different to the opposite gender. Mostly like just girls to be treated as just people. Same with boys, massively with boys. You know, there's so much pressure for both genders to be, you know, boys and girls. There's such a divide and it's completely inseparable from someone's personality. And the people who are now trans and people being more open with, you know, cross-gender, if you like, influences, I think that's really, really positive because they're being so brave.
And obviously, you know, the laws around, you know, reporting sexual assault and definitely need to be looked at, and women shouldn't have to be kind of felt, I don't know, like they're in the wrong for doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's, you know, going back to what you were talking about before, I think that would be a really big change, a really big step, and not just in the westernised world.
Yeah,
across the board.
That's cultural as well, isn't it? It's a culture around sexual abuse and reporting, regardless of who you are. There's a certain shame attached to that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's removing that shame around sexual abuse. If you're whoever you are, there's always a shame attached to that.
So, yeah.
And I think it's more prominent for women.
Yeah.
Particularly young women who perhaps might go out and enjoy themselves. I think it's really difficult for them, but anybody reporting sexual abuse should have that support.
Yeah,
and I
shouldn't
think
be ashamed to
that's
touch
what's
that.
missing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess in like the field of work, it would be like women getting involved more in music industry, being let in more in terms of like production and engineering and stuff. Because I think that's missing. Like there's a really great songwriting podcast called And the Writer Is that I think is amazing, and like I've listened to like 10 and I've only just heard one woman on it, like the most recent one I listened to, and they both talk about it. They're like, wow, there are just so few women in the industry in that sense, and it's just like a boys club in some places. And like she was saying like how she won't go to night sessions with some like famous producers because it's like they're just creeps and stuff, and it's just that kind of thing is so bad that it's like still going on, and hopefully with things like Me Too that like will be like starting to change, but definitely in terms of work it's more women getting involved, because I feel like that will help to, if there are much more women producers, I think you'll instantly start to have less of the kind of lecherous behaviour because there'll just be less men there.
A reclaiming of generosity. I feel that the struggles, particularly the recent struggles under austerity, also the struggles of all of us coming to terms with being part of a more global world and struggling with our insignificance as a species, but also our responsibility towards other species and the environment, not just the planet. I think about a lot of space junk too. These are pressuring times, but also times where life is not as easeful as it perhaps was a couple of decades ago, as far as the economy, etc., is concerned, and the welfare state. And I think that has begun to make people seemingly less tolerant or more ready to not try and understand another opinion or understand why something's happened. I would like to see a reclaiming of a more generous spirit to all others, regardless of whether we share their beliefs and their attitudes or not.
Around sort of funding and finance and how that is determined and who it reaches and the kind of impact it has. We've had really interesting experience of sort of radically different funders and the difference that different funders can make, and also just sort of generally just kind of where decisions are made around how money is distributed and why and for what, and then actually what that looks like at the end. I think you kind of see those layers building up, and then actually the difference to an individual at the end of the day is sort of minimal.
Yeah, there is something there, isn't there, about the impact and the injustice as well sometimes of where that money goes to, not only when it's trying to make social impact, but also kind of in our society, isn't there?
And then if we go even further, I suppose, I would like the world to be a bit more tolerant in general, because we're not, and it's horrible, and we're all people, and we all are normal, like we were talking about role models. Everybody is normal, everybody is just a person, and let's just start thinking about that instead of putting everyone in boxes and keeping them in refugee camps and being incredibly mean and dehumanising to people. I think that should stop immediately, please.
I think you have to be almost like a bit small about it. Like if you want change, you have to just change something little and see what happens. Or if I want change, if I want there to be less screens or less cars, or then I have to use less screens and be in my car less. I don't know how to make it bigger. Do you know what I mean? There's so much that we could change. There's so, the whole world's bananas, isn't it? But you just have to do, I feel for myself, I just do something that I have power over and see what happens.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's possible. I genuinely don't think it's possible to achieve that level on a society, as a society.
I don't think so.
It's just taking a dark turn.
Yeah,
I'm depressed.
It's okay though.
Yeah.
But I think.
But then maybe feminists 100 years ago, suffragettes would
Yeah.
have thought that. Perhaps they would have thought, "Oh, can you ever imagine if we actually achieved this goal?" Did they think that was possible? And here we are.
And what would they say looking forward now? That'd be interesting.
Probably be really pleased.